But there's more than one class of invisible chips. Those, combined with an upgraded Mega Buster, which doesn't take too long to power up, considering how simple it is to grind money and find upgrades, it's still a problem in my opinion. But everything's almost effortless after the fact, and it's so easy to do. I didn't even have that much of a hard time with Quickman stage, which I heard horror stories about. Isn't it funny how I just talked about how bullshit this game was from the start, and then suddenly begin to complain on how broken it is after that? Network transmission, man, it's something else. I'm not sure how to process all this. Oh shit, it's a robot Billy Hatcher. You have to work just to make Mega Man reach the same level of competence as a vanilla Mega Man would start in any of the old games, and that's the wrong way to go about things. True, that was most likely done that way to emphasize the battle chips, the real meat of your weaponry, but RNG makes things far too inconsistent for my liking, and whether or not I have a good time is often up to chance when I don't feel like waiting around for my meter to refill, and there goes that feeling of deja vu again. They took the fundamentals of what made classic Mega Man accessible and fun and put all of these unnecessary elements into it. RNG, wait times, grinding. If that was done solely to tie it closer to the Battle Network series, then I'm sorry to say the two do not mesh well together. With exception to the music, I don't have encouraging things to say about how this game looks and sounds either. There's a lot of stock sound effects I noticed, like whenever you teleport to a new area, I can hear the stock sound of an airplane passing by, and it sounds like Needleman's a fan of Back to the Future as well. Is it because all of the action takes place in the cyber world that everything looks flat and sterile? I mean, classic Mega Man was very blocky in level design too, but they could have at least tried to make things more animate. This was 2002, not 1987. Even the color choice looks a bit muted. There's a lot of callbacks to previous Mega Man games, and I'm sure diehard fans will like that sort of thing, but all it did was make me want to go back to play the older games. If you've played any Mega Man game beforehand, there's nothing here you haven't seen before. It's very standard. I think you get that I didn't enjoy this one by now, and I just want to say, despite what I feel about network transmission, I won't let this affect me whenever I eventually get to the Battle Network lineup. When I asked for some advice on my Facebook page, a lot of you were not only helpful, but also adamant on saying that network transmission should not be anyone's first exposure to this subseries of Mega Man. I'm positive I can wholeheartedly agree when I finally get to Battle Network, but I can say now, from a general perspective, network transmission is not a very good game. It starts off way too fucking hard for the wrong reasons. If you want my opinion, it should have started with Iceman. The stage isn't too long, and he isn't nearly as aggressive. The perfect boss to introduce new players to the game. The mechanics are not very accessible to newbies. It just feels like a half-hearted attempt at taking one version of the franchise and trying to make it cater to fans of another version of the franchise, people who most likely avoided Battle Network in the first place, and when the game suffers because of that, nobody wins here. I'm sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear, Duncan, but donation or otherwise, I can't sugarcoat anything. I don't think that'd be very fair. I think there are just a handful of games left here. Weeks pass by so fast when you're doing something like this. And even if all the games can't be winners, you still have fun experimenting and getting your feet wet with... finding keys or doors. It's just a bunch of finding things for other things. Kind of like Echo Jr., but stretched out. Linearity is only limited to a few levels, and the broad approach makes a ton of stages feel like they go on forever. I couldn't even find joy in the hidden soccer level. I'd rather play Blitzball. The best part that I've experienced, ironically, was the hidden level that was a throwback to classic Echo the Dolphin. Ain't that some shit? The game is a reboot of the series, but it's still about dolphins versus aliens. Just replace the Vortex with the Foe, wonderful name there, and instead of the Asteroid, there's the Guardian. It's all the same to me, but instead of anger, there's indifference. This feels like a movie about a dolphin and his time-traveling adventures that was forced to become a video game. The stuff you do in-game is nothing compared to what happens during cutscenes, and I feel the themes are overplayed. The ocean is big, blue, and beautiful, dolphins are cool, the aliens are dicks, I understand, but all this in-between stuff, the actual game, I'm dozing off just thinking about it, and you guys know how I feel about boring games, and they're so hard to explain too. Defender of the Future would be the last Echo the Dolphin game to be made, and an attempt at making a spiritual successor by the series' original creator failed to get the proper funding on Kickstarter. It's clear the guy wants to continue on with what he has, and if it's anything like Tides of Time, then, I don't know, maybe I'll consider it, but look, I'm aware of Echo's cult status. There is an audience for this, but Tides of Time is the only one of the whole bunch I can recommend, and even then, that's a cautious recommend, because it's not your typical sort of game no matter the title. Maybe that's what gives it unique qualities to some. To me, though, it has too many cracks in the seams, and I don't feel like talking about it anymore. There is not a game I'm not willing to play for the sake of letting you guys know what I think about it, and whether or not you should consider getting it yourself. Does Echo the Dolphin really matter at this point in time? No, probably not. But should you feel the need to try it, it's on a lot of other collections and online services. You kids got it lucky with save states and all that. I had to play this game raw. But I'll put up with it, as long as it means entertaining and informing you all. I love you guys. And recently I broke 150,000 subscribers thanks to you all. That's amazing. It really is. I'm grateful and eternally thankful for it. Dear Johnny, it's now clear to me that breaking you is a futile effort. I'm going to need some time for this one, folks, so I'm going to take a small break, and when I return, it's time for Bubsy. With all that said, thank you guys for watching, have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. There's nothing here, just the most basic of shapes and constructs. Actual textures are about as rare as blue moons. Sometimes there's just no graphics at all. It's unreal that this was considered passable for the PlayStation in 1996, no less. We had Super Mario 64, we had Crash Bandicoot. What the fuck happened here? And this is just on looks. You want to talk about the actual game? Jesus Christ. A 3D platformer with tank controls. And tank controls are something I can get past if the game is designed around it. Look at Croc Legend of the Gobos. It hasn't aged well in some areas, but I can play this game no problem, tank controls and all, because it's designed with that control scheme in mind. Bubsy 3D? Fuck no, it's just a shitload of wide open space with painfully bare foundations. Floating platforms because yes, basic collectibles because it's on their contract, and maybe a boss fight every once in a while, but what I'm doing here, this is it. And somehow they managed to even mess that up at points with level constructions which will only work if Bubsy had appropriate controls. And then there's the complete disregard of cohesion with things like Bubsy's Glide. You can glide on propeller fans to get higher distances. Did you also know you can do that with the boss's gun residue? No? What are you, stupid? Of course you can do that, come on. You can't control the camera, so as opposed to make up for that, your view automatically focuses on the ground whenever Bubsy jumps. You know, to help see where you're going, which totally doesn't disorient you. Jumping is also one of the only ways you can kill things without finding a proper power-up, which are once again rare, but you'll probably end up taking a hit most of the time because it's nearly impossible to line up a jump correctly when the camera suddenly decides to shift whenever you do so. Other concepts they introduce are just as broken as anything else, whether it's because of control issues or because of lack of trying, like these underwater sections. I could just swim to the goal, no worries about threats, no worries about drowning, they're just inconsequential changes of scenery. Bubsy 3D looks and feels like a concept of a platform game that was created before Super Mario Bros. Went and changed the industry in 1985. This is wrong on so many levels. So many levels. In retrospect, though, there's something in me that kind of finds the Jaguar game worse. Don't misunderstand. I didn't have a good time with any of these games, but Jaguar Bubsy actively angered me with how backwards it was. Bubsy 3D is on an entirely different level, but during that process of reaching that bizarre inverted nirvana, it managed to achieve a quality that's so horrendously awful that it needs to be played to be believed. I also spent more to get Jaguar Bubsy compared to Bubsy 3D, so that may have something to do with it as well. Bubsy, should you ever find yourself back from the dead, just learn that these are not how you make a successful series. What can possibly go wrong? This is what can go wrong. I want to take this time to thank the person who donated me the first Bubsy game to finally get this ball rolling. And, the marathon's almost over, folks. There's only a handful of games left, so with that said, I'll see you guys next week with X-Men Legends 1 and 2 for the Nintendo GameCube. In the meantime, I appreciate your patience for waiting this long, after the Echo the Dolphin review. You guys have yourselves a great night. Thank you for watching, and take care. Storm, you'll provide cover for the X-Jet to approach the area safely. Wolverine, you'll scope out the area and keep a lookout for enemy threats. And Iceman, you'll be placed on Ice Bridge Watch. Ice Bridges. Make it so. Here I am selecting my favorite members of the team to prepare for the next onslaught, and around the middle of the stage, I'm required to use a character that's not on my team, which means I gotta backtrack to a save point to switch things up for a moment to deal with that obstacle, and then when I'm finished with that, I gotta go back to switch again because I want the team I originally selected. If you want me to use Iceman for the mission, don't give me the option to pick other characters in the roster. Is it so wrong to think that an underground prison wouldn't need Iceman for anything? And while we're on the subject of the environment, my god, this game looks ugly. When the action heats up, then I don't mind it much. I'm too visually distracted beating things to a pulp to really observe the low-quality textures, models, and frame rate. But when everything's at a standstill, like in real-time cutscenes, this shit looks like a PlayStation 1 game that was just smoothed out to look next-gen, and it's not animated very well in my opinion. Even the FMVs look a little on the pixelated side. I know the 6th generation could do much better than this, and seeing as this was released in 2004, it really had no reason not to try harder. But I will stress again that X-Men Legends' biggest problem is its length. A gameplay style like this is better suited for a classic beat-em-up or an adventure that should last 6 to 8 hours at most, not standard RPG length, especially with this bare-bones plot, which makes the adventure feel even longer than it actually is. There are 4 dreaded words that should never, ever come out of my mouth when I'm playing something, and that's, when does this end? When I get to that point, everything beyond that is just a slog to reach the credits and to never play that game again. And that was a state of mind I achieved very early on. I'm sorry, Alex, but X-Men Legends didn't do it for me. I mean, what else do I talk about? The voice acting? Well, that's pretty nice. It's good to see Steve Blum again for this marathon, even though he's not my top choice for Wolverine. And hey, it's cool to see them get Patrick Stewart reprise his live-action role as Xavier. It's so disappointing that for a game I spent what felt like an eternity on only amounted to a short review. You really do nothing else besides what I'm showing you right now. If I want to destroy countless bad guys and stop Magneto, I'll play the arcade game. It's much shorter for one thing, so I can have a fun experience with it along with my friends without asking for much of their time. Not to mention this shit's hilariously cheesy, what with the voice acting, the over-the-top feeling of it all, and a soundtrack that has a song with the only lyrics being the word X-Men. So it looks like I'm not off to a very good start, and that happens, and because of that I'm willing to give X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse the benefit of the doubt. But we'll truly see what I think of it next week. In the meantime, thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a great night and take care. Okay, now remember how... Okay. Every time, folks. It's not helicopter, motorcycle, car alarm, Amtrak train. I feel there are action RPGs out there with not only more involved game mechanics and different things to do, but also much better and interesting stories, which are just as important to me. But these are only 2 of what I can only imagine countless X-Men games out there. I've just yet to either experience them in some sort of fashion or just straight out play them. Well, besides these 2 and the arcade game. I think a long time ago I may have experienced one on the Genesis, but because it was so long, I don't even remember its name. Actually, I think it was just titled X-Men. Okay, so this is going to be a little different, because I'm not really reading the script or anything. I don't feel you can write things like this down, but I just want to take a minute to tell you how much I'm appreciative of your generosity and little support to make marathons like this possible. You know, this is the end of the First Owners Marathon, but as you can tell on the table, I barely scratched the surface. There are so many other games and things to look at as the months and years go along, because it's people like you that give me experiences to share. And yeah, this past Donators Marathon, I gotta feel there's a lot of stories I've shared. It's like with Corey in the house and Mary Kay and Ashley's 316. You know, you never, even the most obscure shit can give you like the greatest stories to tell, and that's what I'm really grateful for that experience. And I'm not gonna lie, it's overwhelming. And that was one of the things I was worried about with this Donators Marathon. Is like, you know, this person went out of their way to hand me a game. Now, whether or not it's for the sake of expressing an opinion or telling people if it's good or getting a laugh, like I said in the beginning of the Corey in the House video, you're worried about this what the person wanted to hear, but you know, that's just how I am. I get like that, even though my motto is, you know, I tell it as I see it. I try not to sugarcoat anything. I try my damnedest not to have a bias, but I'm looking very much forward to the second Donators Marathon when I get to that. I don't know when that will be. I'm gonna be honest, don't know. I wouldn't expect another one for at least another year, because I have pretty much the entire year booked at this point. There are just so many things I need to do, so much to do, so much to see. I'm not taking the back street, I'm taking the main road. And I want to thank each and every single one of you once again for continuing watching my channel, for being loyal supporters. I can't say that enough times throughout the years I've been doing this. I know, I'm a broken record. I feel like I need to say this because it's so goddamn true. I think I said enough. I'm stumbling now. I'm mumbling. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching. You have yourselves a fantastic night, and you take care of yourself.